He gave the people hope when racial tensions were fierce. He preached change when the nation needed it most. He called for peace when we couldn't come together. And 50 years ago, he was taken. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. murdered in Memphis on April 4th, 1968. And today, the nation is remembering one of the greats. We have team coverage for you this morning. Naima Abdullahi in the Sweet Auburn District with the events happening today. Francesca Amaker following your tweets. But first, we begin with Tracy Potts, who is live in Memphis, where thousands will gather to honor Dr. King's legacy.
Jennifer, good morning. You know, there's a real connection between Atlanta and Memphis in honoring his legacy at the King Center there, here inside the National Civil Rights Museum, where this new exhibit takes a close look at his personal life, but also things that we're seeing today, like Black Lives Matter and the March for Our Lives, and how they connect to what was happening in 1968.
50 years ago today, an assassin's bullet ripped through the heart of America.
Martin Luther King was shot and was killed tonight in Memphis.
The young preacher who forced a nation to confront injustice suddenly gone. His young children watching on TV.
He died in a hospital an hour later.
I remember saying, "Dad, don't go." But I remember more importantly him saying, "Don't worry, I'll be back."
Today, they join thousands to remember civil rights leaders who marched with Dr. King.
This man I admired, I loved, he was my friend.
Speakers and performers are scheduled all day at the Lorraine Motel, now part of the National Civil Rights Museum. Visitors today will hear Dr. King's last speech the night before he died.
Because I've been to the mountaintop.
A new exhibit debuts this morning focusing on Dr. King's family life and the sanitation worker strike that brought him to Memphis.
And when you walk through, it's hard to distinguish what was 68 and what was today.
The message today, the fight is not over.
We have not, in 50 years, dealt with, as Daddy challenged us, to deal with the last vestiges of racism.
A dream that did not die on the balcony outside room 306.
And they have kept that room exactly the way it was the day that Dr. King was shot. Now, the festivities, the remembrance, the memorial here ends today with a bell ringing at 6:01 p.m., the exact moment that Dr. King was shot. Jennifer?
Tracy, thank you. We go now to our Naima Abdullahi, who is outside the King Center with a look at the events that will be happening around our area here in Atlanta throughout the day.
Jennifer, that's right. This is a day the world is paying close attention to Atlanta, not only because it was the epicenter of the civil rights movement, but also because this is where Dr. Martin Luther King called home. This is where that dream the world talks about all started. And here in his hometown, there's going to be lots of different events throughout Metro Atlanta to honor a man, a leader, a father who not only shaped our city and our state, but also the entire world.
At 10 a.m., you can visit Dr. King's historic birth home on Auburn Avenue. That's when the tours start. And at 10:30, there will be a Martin Luther King Jr. Peace Prize Award ceremony. It's the King Center's highest award presented for commitment to nonviolence and social justice. From 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., there will be a viewing of a Dr. King film called The Last Days of King at the National Historic Park. At 5:15, there will be a program at the historic Ebenezer Baptist Church. And at 7:01, a wreath will be placed outside the historic Ebenezer Baptist Church as we remember the life and legacy of Dr. King.
And also throughout the day, we'll have comprehensive coverage of all those different events. If you do plan on attending one of those events, please factor in weather. Also factor in traffic and get there a little bit earlier, considering the fact that this is the 50th anniversary and there's going to be lots of people in Atlanta wanting to celebrate and remember the life of Dr. King. Back to you.
You know, there are so many people reflecting on the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. In fact, we have all of your tweets kind of here coming in at the 11 Alive Bridge. Take a look at what Michael had to say. He says, "Rest in power, Martin. Your journey may not be complete, but we do know we'll get there because you told us you've seen the promised land." Of course, he's using those popular hashtags, hashtag MLK50. Also, Dorothy writes to Bernice King, you should be honored. Your father was a great man. I thank him for the privileges I have because of his sacrifices. I cry on days like today because his life was cut short. And also, you even see Bernice King coming up with a montage of her and her father.